Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to learn about King Louis XIV's life in a simple and easy to understand way. This story is perfect for practicing your English listening. Birth, childhood, and family. Louis XIV was born on September 5, 1638, in the royal chateau at Saint-Germain-en-Laye, near Paris, France. He was born into the royal house of Bourbon, one of Europe's most powerful families. His father was King Louis XIII of France, and his mother was Anne of Austria, a Spanish princess. Louis was their first child, born after 23 years of marriage, which many considered miraculous. Because of this long wait, he was called Louis the God-given, Louis de Udon. Louis had one sibling, his younger brother Philippe, born in 1640. Their relationship was complex. While they were close, Louis was groomed for kingship, and Philippe was raised to never compete with him. Louis's childhood was shaped by political events. When he was just 4 years old, his father died, making him King Louis XIV on May 14, 1643. Since he was too young to rule, his mother became regent, ruling France in his name, influenced by Cardinal Mazarin, an Italian diplomat who became a father figure to him. Louis's early years were marked by civil unrest known as the Fronde, 1648 to 1653, a series of rebellions against the monarchy. During this time, young Louis experienced fear and insecurity, as he and his family sometimes had to flee Paris. These experiences instilled in him a deep distrust of the nobility and a determination to protect royal authority. Despite these challenges, Louis received a royal education. He studied history, geography, mathematics, and dancing. He became fluent in Italian and Spanish and developed a love for music and the arts. Cardinal Mazarin emphasized the importance of history and politics in his education, teaching him about governance and diplomacy. Louis enjoyed hunting and showed interest in military affairs, often watching troops drill. He was serious and reserved, qualities that would serve him well as a monarch known for his dignity. From an early age, he learned about the divine right of kings, the belief that monarchs received their authority from God. This concept became central to his understanding of kingship. He was also trained in the elaborate etiquette of the French court, learning to use ritual as a tool of royal power. By his teenage years, the Fronde rebellions had been suppressed, and Louis was ready to take control of his kingdom. When Cardinal Mazarin died in 1661, the 22-year-old Louis was determined to rule as an absolute monarch. Education and formation. Louis XIV's education was designed to prepare him for kingship, though it was disrupted by political turmoil. His formal education began around age 7, under the supervision of his godfather, Nicolas de Neufville, Marquis de Villeroy. His daily routine was strictly regulated, with mornings for studies and afternoons for physical activities. His primary tutor was Jean-Baptiste Colbert de Saint-Ponge, who taught him reading, writing, history, and geography. Archbishop Hardouin de Perifix taught him religion, while Cardinal Mazarin oversaw his political education. Unlike many royal children, Louis received a substantial education. History was central to his studies. He learned from the reigns of previous kings, especially his grandfather, Henry IV, who restored peace after religious wars. He also studied ancient rulers like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, whose leadership inspired him. Languages were important too. Besides French, he learned Italian and Spanish for diplomacy and received instruction in Latin, though he was not as fluent in it. Cardinal Mazarin played a crucial role in shaping Louis's understanding of politics. He taught Louis the importance of dissimulation in politics, the art of hiding true intentions. He also instilled a deep appreciation for the arts as a tool of royal prestige. Physical education was not neglected. Louis learned to ride, fence, and dance, skills essential for a nobleman. He became an excellent horseman and dancer, talents he displayed at court. Military education was also important. Louis observed military exercises from a young age, developing knowledge of tactics and strategy. He learned that a king should understand warfare as a practical skill. The most important aspect of Louis's formation was his education in kingship. From Mazarin and his mother, he absorbed the theory of divine right monarchy, the belief that kings were accountable only to God. This concept became fundamental to his understanding of his role. The Fronde rebellions shaped his political outlook. Witnessing challenges to royal authority instilled in him a determination to maintain control. By the time Mazarin died in 1661, Louis had developed the skills and vision necessary to rule as an absolute monarch. Early professional career. Louis XIV's early career as king began unusually. Though he became king at 4, real power was held by his mother and Cardinal Mazarin. During this time, he observed government but had little authority. The true beginning of his personal rule came on March 9, 1661, after Mazarin's death. In a meeting with his ministers, the 22-year-old king announced he would rule without a chief minister, declaring, "I have decided to be my own prime minister." This marked a significant break from tradition. From the start, Louis established a rigorous work routine. He divided his day between state affairs and court ceremonies, both essential to kingship. Each morning, he met with councils to discuss finance, diplomacy, and internal affairs, insisting on being informed and making final decisions. One of his first challenges was dealing with the aftermath of the Fronde rebellions. He moved decisively to consolidate royal power, reducing the influence of the nobility. He required the high nobility to attend court at Versailles, keeping them under his watchful eye. In these early years, Louis assembled a team of talented ministers. Jean-Baptiste Colbert, Controller General of Finances, implemented economic reforms to make France self-sufficient. François-Michel Letellier, Marquis de Louvois, reorganized the French army, making it more professional and loyal to the crown. Louis's early foreign policy included wars aimed at expanding France's borders. The War of Devolution, 1667 to 1668, was his first major military campaign, claiming territories in the Spanish Netherlands. Although it ended with limited gains, it established Louis as a king willing to use military force. Louis also began grand cultural projects. In 1661, he established the Académie Royale de Danse, followed by academies for music, painting, and sciences. These institutions promoted French cultural achievement and brought the arts under royal patronage. A significant project was the expansion of the Palace of Versailles. What began as a hunting lodge was transformed into a magnificent palace, serving as the seat of government and royal residence. This project demonstrated the king's wealth and power. In his personal life, these early years saw Louis's arranged marriage to Maria Theresa of Spain in 1660 and the birth of their first children. However, he also began taking official mistresses, with Louise de la Valliere becoming his first acknowledged mistress. By the end of the first decade of his personal rule, Louis had established the foundations of absolute monarchy. He centralized power, curbed the nobility's independence, and initiated a program of cultural patronage that made French culture the envy of Europe. Personal life and relationships. Louis XIV's personal life was complex and carefully managed. His first marriage was a political alliance arranged when he was 21. In 1660, he married his cousin Maria Theresa of Spain, as part of the Treaty of the Pyrenees. Despite being arranged, Louis was initially attracted to her. The royal couple had 6 children, but only one survived to adulthood, their eldest son Louis, known as the Grand Dauphin. The high infant mortality rate was typical for the era, causing personal grief for Louis. Their relationship became primarily ceremonial, with Marie-Thérèse living in the shadow of Louis's more charismatic mistresses. Louis's extramarital relationships were open and acknowledged. His first official mistress was Louise de la Vallière, who genuinely loved the king and bore him several children. However, she was eventually replaced by Françoise Athénais, Marquise de Montespan, who became the dominant mistress for over a decade. In his later years, Louis's significant relationship was with Françoise d'Aubagne, Marquise de Maintenon. Initially hired as a governess for his illegitimate children, she gained his respect and affection. After Marie-Thérèse's death in 1683, Louis secretly married Maintenon, who became his closest companion and advisor. Louis acknowledged many of his illegitimate children, giving them titles and wealth. His favorite was Louis Auguste de Bourbon, Duke of Maine, whom he attempted to include in the line of succession. Louis maintained complex relationships with family members. His relationship with his legitimate son, the Grand Dauphin, was formal and distant. The Dauphin had little political responsibility, perhaps due to Louis's fear of rivalry. Ironically, the Grand Dauphin died of smallpox in 1711. Louis had a closer relationship with his grandson, the Duke of Burgundy, preparing him as his successor. The young duke's death in 1712 was a severe blow to Louis. When Louis died in 1715, he was succeeded by his 5-year-old great-grandson, Louis XV. Louis's relationship with his brother Philippe, Duke of Orleans, was complex. Philippe was openly homosexual and had a flamboyant personality, contrasting with Louis's controlled public persona. Yet Louis ensured his brother was wealthy and maintained an important position at court. At court, Louis developed elaborate etiquette governing daily life. Access to the king was strictly controlled, with different levels of intimacy signified by who could be present at various moments of the royal day. Even those closest to Louis were expected to observe formal protocols. Despite the formality, Louis formed genuine friendships, particularly with military commanders. He maintained lifelong passions for hunting, dancing, music, and theater, often performing in court ballets. Louis's personal habits were characterized by discipline. He was known for his hearty appetite but did not drink excessively. He maintained a rigorous daily schedule balancing state affairs with leisure activities. This self-discipline extended to his emotional life. He rarely lost his temper. As he aged, Louis became more religious, influenced by Maintenon. The king, once known for romantic conquests, became increasingly concerned with faith and legacy. Yet he maintained a balance of intimacy and authority in his relationships and kingship. Major achievements and contributions. Louis XIV's reign, spanning 72 years, was marked by significant achievements that transformed France and influenced European politics and culture. His most fundamental achievement was the development of absolute monarchy. Louis centralized power, famously declaring, "L'État, c'est moi, I am the state." He reduced the power of the nobility and created a unified state with power flowing from the crown. This centralization was accompanied by an administrative reorganization of the French government. Louis and his ministers created a more efficient bureaucracy with specialized departments. He appointed intendants, royal officials who reported directly to the crown, to oversee provinces, bypassing local authorities. In economic policy, Louis and Colbert implemented mercantilism on an unprecedented scale. They established state-sponsored manufacturing, built infrastructure, and promoted colonial enterprises, significantly increasing state revenues and making France the leading economic power in Europe. Louis's military achievements were impressive. He transformed the French army into a professional fighting force. Under his leadership, France fought wars that expanded its borders, incorporating territories like Franche-Comté and Alsace. At its height, Louis's France was the dominant military power in Europe. Perhaps Louis's most visible achievement was the creation of the Palace of Versailles. This magnificent royal residence became the seat of government and demonstrated the king's wealth and power. The palace and its gardens set new standards for royal architecture. Louis made significant contributions to culture and the arts. He established royal academies for painting, music, and sciences, bringing these fields under royal patronage. French literature flourished under his reign, with writers like Molière and Racine creating classics. French became the language of diplomacy and refined society. In international relations, Louis established France as the dominant power in Europe, replacing Spain. He developed modern diplomatic practices, maintaining permanent embassies and using a combination of military power and cultural influence to advance French interests. Louis also contributed to court etiquette and ceremony, developing elaborate rituals that reinforced his status. These rituals became models for courts across Europe. In religious affairs, Louis's revocation of the Edict of Nantes in 1685 forced many Protestants to flee France, damaging the economy. However, his patronage of the Catholic Church led to a flowering of religious art and scholarship. By the end of his reign, Louis had transformed France into a powerful, culturally influential state. His governance, military innovations, and cultural patronage established models that influenced European development for centuries. Challenges and obstacles overcome. Louis XIV faced numerous challenges throughout his reign, demonstrating resilience in overcoming them. The earliest challenge came during his childhood with the Fronde rebellions, which threatened the monarchy. Louis experienced humiliation and fear, instilling in him a deep distrust of the nobility. He overcame this by centralizing authority and requiring the nobility to attend his court. Financial challenges plagued Louis throughout his reign. When he began his personal rule in 1661, the treasury was nearly empty. Working with Colbert, he implemented economic reforms that increased state revenues, though constant warfare later strained finances. Louis also faced diplomatic isolation. His aggressive policies alarmed other European states, leading to coalitions against France. He responded with military action and strategic concessions, demonstrating skill in overcoming diplomatic challenges. The War of the Spanish Succession presented a significant challenge. When his grandson Philip inherited the Spanish throne, Europe united against the prospect of a union between the French and Spanish crowns. The war went poorly for France, with major defeats and economic strain. Yet Louis showed resilience, refusing disadvantageous peace terms and rallying his people. Personal tragedies tested Louis's resilience. He endured the deaths of his son, grandson, and wife, threatening the stability of the succession. He responded by legitimizing some of his illegitimate sons, though this decision was reversed after his death. Religious conflicts also posed challenges. Louis's desire for religious unity led to harsh measures against Protestants, culminating in the revocation of the Edict of Nantes. This created economic problems and hostility with Protestant nations. Throughout his reign, Louis balanced absolute power with effective governance. He achieved this through careful selection of ministers and regular council meetings. His ability to maintain authority and pass the crown intact to his heir testifies to his remarkable resilience. Legacy and impact on the world. Louis XIV's legacy and impact have been profound, extending beyond his lifetime and the borders of France. His 72-year reign established governance, diplomacy, and culture patterns that influenced Europe for centuries. His most significant political legacy was the development of absolute monarchy. He created a centralized state, reducing the influence of traditional power centers. This model was studied and emulated by rulers across Europe. Louis's impact on international relations was equally profound. Under his leadership, France replaced Spain as the dominant power in Europe. The diplomatic practices he established created the foundation for modern diplomacy. In military affairs, Louis's legacy includes the creation of a modern army. The reforms he implemented established patterns followed by armies throughout Europe. Culturally, Louis's impact was immense. The Palace of Versailles established a model for royal architecture. The artistic and literary academies he founded defined standards of excellence that shaped European culture. Louis's patronage of the arts created a flowering of French culture. The works of Molière, Racine, and others benefited from royal support and continue to be celebrated. Even Louis's personal style left a lasting legacy. The etiquette he established influenced social behavior throughout Europe, setting standards of refinement. Louis's religious policies had mixed consequences. His revocation of the Edict of Nantes led to a diaspora of Huguenots, enriching rival nations while depriving France of their skills. In the colonies, Louis's legacy included the establishment of New France and French settlements in the Caribbean. Though many territories were lost, they left lasting cultural influences. Louis's legacy in France is complex. The absolutist system he perfected contained the seeds of the French Revolution, yet many institutions he created survived. Even Napoleon adopted many of Louis's innovations. Perhaps Louis's most enduring legacy is symbolic. As the Sun King, he created an image of monarchy that continues to fascinate. The splendor of Versailles and the concept of the king as the center of national life remain part of our understanding of kingship. The life and reign of Louis XIV offer insights into leadership and the exercise of power. From a frightened child to a self-assured monarch, Louis's journey demonstrates the potential and limitations of ambition. His transformation of early adversity into strength is inspiring. The challenges he faced taught him valuable lessons about power and vigilance. He created a governance system to prevent future challenges, exemplifying resilience. Louis's dedication to his role provides a model of commitment. For over 7 decades, he maintained a rigorous routine, balancing state affairs with royal ceremonies. His statement on his deathbed reflects his understanding of service to something larger than himself. The cultural flowering under Louis's patronage shows leadership's power to inspire creativity. By establishing standards and rewarding achievement, he created conditions for lasting beauty and significance. Even his failures contain lessons. His later wars drained resources, and his religious intolerance created lasting enmities. These missteps remind us that capable leaders can be blinded by ambition. As we reflect on Louis XIV's life, we can ask what lessons it offers for leadership today. His ability to create a compelling vision and build lasting institutions remains relevant. The limitations of his absolutist approach highlight the advantages of inclusive governance. In the end, Louis XIV's story reminds us of the possibilities and responsibilities of power. Leadership can inspire greatness and improve lives, but it can also become self-serving. The Sun King's reign encompassed both aspects, making it a rich source of insights into leadership challenges. As the sun set on his reign, it left behind a transformed landscape. Louis's influence remains visible in diplomacy, military organization, and artistic standards. Few individuals have left such a diverse mark on civilization. In this sense, Louis achieved immortality through the legacy of his achievements and the fascination his reign inspires.